Hey, welcome back to the BVB podcast. My name's Jacob, joined as always by Carver. How's it going, man? How are you doing? As we record on Sunday after the latest Dortmund debacle, or is it even a debacle at this point? It's just kind of the norm. We're recording after another Dortmund match. How are you doing, man? Aside from Dortmund, how's life?
It's such a loaded question when it comes to Dortmund, isn't it? This club is so disorienting with the emotions it puts you through every week, to the point where when you asked to record just the other day after the Champions League game, I just kind of sat there in awe. And I was like, I think I'm going to need a day to collect my thoughts here. Personally, just trying to survive allergy season. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Again, it's been a while since we recorded, and apologies, or at least it feels like it's been a while. We were going to try to record after the little Champions League match, and I was out of town all week, so it did make things a little more difficult. I also got to give a shout out to our good friend Brian Straub from, he's been a guest on the show multiple times. He's one of our more regular guests, and he's also on the Dortmund Dispatch podcast. But I got to hang with him, which was really awesome because although we've done so many podcasts together, we've never actually met in person. So that was cool. Really cool to hang out with Brian. And he was like, let me know when there's another slot on your guys' show you need me to fill in. I said, every time. Just you let me know, because Brian, this is your open invitation. Come on the show right now if you're listening. Call in. No, that was really awesome hanging with Brian. But you're right. We were trying to set up something to talk after that little match. And even though we got the win, it's just hard to talk about Dortmund right now. I know it was like a couple weeks ago, we had the comment, I forget who it was, on Spotify saying, oh, what a downer of an episode. And then we win 2 matches, and then we come back and we're super optimistic. And then it might have been the same guy, could very well have been the same guy, but said, like, stop being so optimistic because you ruin things. Because after we're optimistic, you just get kicked right back down again. And that is the life of a Dortmund fan. But it's even more so this year, it feels like.
I wouldn't say we were optimistic there. We were just doing a little bit of irony, given how, again, just how far in either direction this club will go. Not even from week to week, but day to day, between the contrast of the Champions League and the Bundesliga. Yeah, we went from literally scoring 8 goals and conceding 0 in 2 games. And then I know we didn't cover 3 games now, but just in one of the last 2, we went from that to scoring 0 and conceding 3. So, I mean, it's just when you sprinkle the chaos and the roller coaster that is the Lille games in between there, it just gives you a small sample of how chaotic this club has been this entire season so far.
Do we start being optimistic when we beat Barcelona like 5-0? Like,
when? Not if.
That's when we can turn things around. But yeah, we'll kind of give an overview of these previous 3 matches. Augsburg, we won't get into all of them in detail because we won't have that kind of time. And frankly, the Bundesliga matches, I don't want to talk about that much. But we had the loss at home versus Augsburg, the win away at Lille. Like, how are we now? We can win. Now it's the opposite. Now we can win. I mean, Champions League. We've been winning the Champions League.
Same as Sporting too.
And then we losing on the road to Leipzig. We do have a little like women's update, and we'll try to get into some drop some questions in our Discord. So this is the plug. If you're not in our Discord already, make sure you head over there, join that little community, and get a little more connected with the show. So we'll get some Discord questions towards the end of the episode. But yeah, home Augsburg, Marius Wolf.
Of all people, it had to be him, right? It had to be him. You could see the dedication in his eyes this entire game. For former players being offloaded by Dortmund, putting on the performance of a lifetime against us. Even though Augsburg are usually and regularly a mid-table or even bottom-table club, they've been defensively in fantastic form these past few weeks here. You could see in this game alone why they concede such little chances and such little goals too. But yeah, I mean, Wolf to Passlack comes to mind, that first time against Bochum earlier this season as well. This is the first time Augsburg have won in the Westfalenstadion in over a decade now. I think that's dating back to February of 2015, whenever Dortmund was actually in this very similar position here under that last year of Klopp, and they finished lower in the table. They were even close to a relegation zone that year as well. So kind of shows the similarities between seasons here and just how poor Dortmund have been. Whenever you think they're just starting to maybe take one step forward, they show their true colors again, of just the poor attitude and passion from a lot of these players in this team.
It seems like we love helping other clubs make history.
Oh, it's our favorite. Yeah, that's been our thing for the last 2 years, it seems like. Definitely this season.
Well, it's been the last time it seems like we've done something successful. It is in past history that we just love letting other people like revel in the glory. Like, why not? You guys want to make history? You guys want to be this cool? You guys want to do a nice
Right,
comeback
right.
win? You get cool.
Oh, you guys need
It's
a
been a
few
while
points to
since
get
you've
out of
won here.
relegation zone? Go ahead. No. You're up next, please.
We'll help you out. Well,
Yeah.
we're chilling. We're chilling. Are we in 10th, 11th? Again, I said it last time. I'm not looking at the table anymore because it's crazy. I don't have anything else to say on that match specifically. I know that wasn't quite the review breakdown. I don't know if anyone wants that anyways.
Yeah.
But
It's insane. The few people you could look at too, like let's talk about Brandt for a second, and not just for this game, but just these few games in general. I mean, what happened to this man in that game against Augsburg? It was the first leg against Lille. He completed 9 out of 20 passes. He had 0 out of 3 dribbles, 0 out of 4 crosses against Augsburg. And across those 2 games, Augsburg and Lille, he won 2 out of 15 duels. 10 of those were on the ground, 5 of those were in the air. He's been shaky all season, but he's been almost completely absent this entire calendar year for 3 months straight. I was looking back at some of our episodes and even posts going back to January, and I was saying Reyna needs to be starting over Brandt at this point. Brandt has had the entire fall to pick up any sort of form. At times, whenever he has, it's been in moments and glimpses. It has not been over the consistent level that we need our primary number 10 to be at. And still to this day, I have no idea what he's saying to Kovac or vice versa, because he continues to start in this team every single game almost, despite these horrific performances.
I thought you were going to bring up the post where I think it was before the season started, and I made a post just trying to get some predictions and like feelers out. And I think I meant like, how many goals and assists is Brandt going to get this year? Thinking it was going to be like pretty high. Like I had such high hopes. And not only like, I'm like trying to, maybe I was like overrating Brandt a little bit, but just like my expectations and knowing what we have seen from him before, and just knowing like that's what we need. Like we've needed him if we wanted this year to be successful, if we wanted to be better than we were last year in the Bundesliga, like if we actually want to be a serious club, like we need him performing, right? We need him firing. And like you can say that for everyone in this team. And it's just been so far from that on so many levels. But with him going in, knowing he is our starting number 10 with Royce officially out, like we knew that was going to be, last year was different anyways, with Brandt getting more minutes and Royce not really being the star guy, but a piece that can just be added in and help when needed. When we saw that last year, but Royce is gone, and this is Brandt's year to, I don't even want to say step up. I don't even want to say like this is his year to step up, because like he's an older, experienced player now. It should just be like the general expectations. Like he is at number 10.
Yeah, and you know, whenever we put that in there, I think it was in the Discord asking what our expectations should be in terms of his goal contributions. When you look back at just last season, that's whenever he was at his peak. I think it was 24 goal contributions in all comps, which is the highest it's been ever since he arrived at Dortmund in the 2019-2020 season. Now, that's not super, super high, but that is pretty solid. And, outside of those, he has dramatically improved in his game in a number of areas that we've talked about before, but it's completely fallen out at the wayside this season. And he's fallen back into his old shell from that first season or two at Dortmund. Just super careless, a lot of forced passes, very hollow, and completely mentally and physically checked out, as I've said before too. And it's not getting any better. And there needs to be a point where he has to take a step back at the moment. You have players like Chukwuemeka, he's been making his way back up to fitness, yes, but I think he's at a point now where he looks like he can probably do at least an hour or two. I almost said or two, an hour or so, and then you could have someone come on after. But just in like those 15 minutes here against Leipzig when Chukwuemeka came on, he looked better in those 15 minutes alone than the entire span of almost 3 games that Brandt had combined here. So, there are other options there. Reyna as well. Those two could definitely be filling into that number 10 while Brandt gets his head straight of what he wants to do with the rest of his football career.
I agree with Chukwuemeka, and I've said it a couple other times. Like the few minutes we have seen from him in various matches, I've really liked what I've seen. He seems to be like he's really good on the ball. He's also big and physical. Towards the end of that Leipzig match, he had that nice little 1-2 right in the middle of the box where I think it and maybe a gross shot.
That was like within seconds of him coming on, if I'm not wrong, or one of his first few touches. One of those two. I mean, again, I said it out loud too, just to myself. I was like, look already how much more involved he's been in the past 75 plus minutes. Brandt has been his entire game, and then he went on to play even more too.
Yeah, he tends to create and make stuff happen, as you said, very quickly too. Is there any worrying signs that we haven't seen hardly any Reina. Like, yeah, he had those couple matches where he got a start, and because that's the thing. Like, maybe I agree that Brandt they should have done more rotation, or like he should have lost his spot sooner. But when we see Reina come in too, like, or those couple occasions where we started, like, what do you think is it just the same? Is it a lack of effort on his end in the training? Like, what are your? It just seems like a telling sign there too. I know we've had these same discussions last year, but now with another coach in, like, you think this is Reina's time to really get more of a chance. And I guess I'm almost asking, like, I think we talked about it before, like more of the US M&T perspective, fan perspective, because I know the writing has seemed to be on the wall from a Dortmund perspective with him. But what do you think, like, is going on there? Because he seems to not be getting a sniff either.
I think a few of those things come down to the things you mentioned already, which is Brandt is more of like a veteran player. He's more high of a profile. You could see a little bit more effort that he puts into his game at times compared to Reina, but maybe that's just more of like a body language thing. But that's really all I can think of at the moment. There's not many other arguments I could have for Brandt being in that role, because while you could say those same things on the other side of that same coin, again, it all seems very forced, and Brandt just seems to not be able to make much of anything happen at the moment. And it seems like at times we're playing a man down in such a crucial spot of the field where we need to be creating more chances, right? I mean, 0 goals scored in these last 2 games, especially at home against Augsburg, and every game where we need 3 points to get closer to top 4.
We can shift a little bit to Lille, talk about Lille a little bit. And I mean, one, I think the better performances all around. This is Dortmund. We can show up in the Champions League, especially when we need it, especially when we have the 1-1 draw at home and we need to get a result. We need to turn things around, and we go down in the first 5 minutes. I was pretty I definitely wasn't optimistic when they scored in 5 minutes into this match. And I was like, well, at least we can finish mid-table in the Bundesliga this year, because it looks like Champions League is done. But the team was able to turn it around. We get the Champ PK. We get this. Was this the Bayer banger, which was just incredible? And when Brian and I were hanging out, we did. Not that we talked Dortmund the whole time. We talked about a lot of stuff, but I was like, we could almost record it. We could have done a walk and talk recording thing and put up a little Dortmund review on the podcast. Would have been fun. Yeah. But we did give a lot of praise to Bayer, and it's been like him as a person. I like so much. I feel like he gives so much effort, and I was so happy for him to get this goal at such an important time.
Yeah, Bayer's slowly and quietly becoming a starter in this team, and he was the one that made the difference in the end there at that Lille game. Started 3 of the last 5 games. Before those 5, his last start was actually January 29th. So, you could see that he's getting more and more minutes as Gittens kind of starts to slowly phase out here. Of course, he's still got about 2.5 or so months left of the season, but, Bayer is really starting to solidify himself there. Yeah, that goal early on to concede was pretty horrendous, right? I mean, Kobo, I had the post-game comment pulled up, but now actually I'm losing it. But he was saying how that goal was a little bit more of a deflection, and he didn't have a good view of it, so therefore he wasn't really pointing himself there to blame as that goal slid past him. I'm not really sure how much of that is denial, but either way, the team, after about 10 or 15 minutes after that, they did start to find their footing a bit more, string some passes together, and then they actually went to create on a lot of chances. Of course, we weren't able to finish for a while, but either way, we did have sustained pressure against Lille despite the circumstances going down 1-0 early. And in the end, actually pulled it out. And we march on somehow in the Champions League despite these performances just 3 days later in the Bundesliga, before and after, actually.
Yeah, and with this being a win, like, I don't want to be too critical, but we didn't run through the lineup on the other one, but the lineups have kind of been picking themselves. But this one was really interesting, the back line I want to talk about and get your thoughts. Like, maybe I shouldn't question anything because we got the win, right? But I guess my question is, I think maybe in a future episode, we're going to talk a little more about what next season looks like, players, and who we think should stay or should go. Because, like, although we made a lot of changes last year, and I'm happy for that. Like, still feels like we need an overhaul. We're not done yet. I know you can't do that all in one season. But this back line where we see Ryerson on the left, playing the left back, which I'm totally fine with. Like, I like Ryerson as a left back. He's really good in that position. My concern is we have Anton starting in the right back position when we have Sula on the bench, who we've seen play that right back position before. We had Ryerson, obviously our normal starting. Benzabaini's on the bench, and then Kuto is the other one who is you would like to think is our backup right back. I know we've hardly seen that at all this year. But what does this say that, like, again, we win, we had a good performance. If Anton can play that position, that's what we need. If that's what Kovac thinks is best, cool. But how much does this speak to just this squad build and like the money we put in? Like, I know we talked about Sula a lot and his wages, and he hasn't really got too much of a sniff. He's had some injury problems. And then Kuto, obviously, too, we haven't been able to see too much from. But what does this backline really say, I guess?
Anton had a pretty rough game. I mean, he's a bit more gifted at the ball at his feet than I originally thought, at least in terms of just his crossing ability. I mean, from the left and the right, he actually had a pretty good few whips in here into really dangerous areas that probably should have been put away in this game. But yeah, he's clearly not a fullback, and he got cooked a few times and also was left exposed with the spacing out wide too. So I don't know if it was a fitness thing for Benzabaini, but you could see whenever Rierson did come back into his natural position. I mean, actually, I say natural, but Rierson really excels in both the left and the right in that back line. And he's becoming a legend at this club, too. I mean, I love him. I say it all the time, and I love him more and more as time goes on. Rierson is such a rock in that defense. And, happy to have him here. But, once everybody slips back onto that right side, Benzabaini's back in his natural position as well. Then you're seeing the balance of width here a bit better there as opposed to Anton here. Sula, I don't even really want to talk about him much. I think his time has come and gone at this point. I did see, I mean, it was just kind of a report, so I don't know how valid it was, but Sula was still is wanting to still assert himself into this team even after this summer and try to be a starter. I think that time, again, is it's too little too late for me. He did have injuries, but he's also had plenty of problems himself, and it's just not good enough. We've had 3 coaches this season, and still he's not a regular starter in this team. So we need to be looking elsewhere. Anton, I'm still not sure if he's going to be that starter next to Schlotterbeck as the center back pairing, but either way, he could be a good squad player. But outside of that, we're going to need another center half for sure. More investment in this back line needs to happen this summer.
Yeah, it's already shaping up to be an interesting summer, like for so many reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Not only like the performances from specific players and what we've been seeing the last couple of years, but like, I mean, however this year is going to end is going to be, it's already interesting, and it's just gonna we need change. We need help. We need to fix some things. That's all. I got nothing else to say. And even more so, losing this Leipzig match. If we want to get into this one, obviously this one's a little more recent. I always go in with some slight optimism until maybe, like I said, we go down in the first 5 minutes. But Leipzig, like we got the good result against them earlier. And there's always that optimism that maybe I just need to stop. Maybe I just need to accept. I've been wanting to get to a place where I just accept anyways. And I think maybe this is it. Cause looking at the table, looking at how many matches we have left, like I'm completely writing off top 4, top 5, like Europe in general. Like I just don't see it happening with the results we keep getting in the Bundesliga, but I still had I want to beat Leipzig. I want to prove something, and that did not happen at all in this match. And I hate their stadium so much with their stupid bull mural around the whole thing. I hate it.
I thought you were going to say you hate the banners about diversity.
No, the bull painting. I hate it. I don't know why. I'm just like, those bulls look so stupid. Yeah. I hate them so much.
Yeah, it's our annual beating by Rosa. I mean, at least once a year, he still gets the better of us, and Vatska and Samar get a front row seat to that too, so they get to really relish in that. Yeah, what a shit show. This few things that I've already mentioned already. Anton got exposed a few times out wide here against David Raum. I mean, there was just, you could play 2 full matches, and Dortmund were probably not going to score this game with just how many chances, clear-cut chances, that we were able to create, but actually not finish. Adeyemi, he was able to create some space for Guirassy towards the second half and be that second striker, and he created space and was able to find Guirassy in behind for 1v1. Guirassy lost that 1v1 against the goalkeeper. Gross had a clear-cut chance right outside the 6-yard box and skied that as well. Bayer had, 2 opportunities in like 3 or 4 minutes in the second half. Yeah, we had plenty of chances, and just it felt like towards the 60th, 5th, or 70th minute, I was just like, I don't think we're going to score. Doesn't matter how many more chances we're going to get at this point. If it's just not going to go in, it's not going to go in, especially with the performance that Gulacsi had for Leipzig too. I mean, that man continues to get better and better with age somehow, and just an incredible performance from him too. So, he was determined to keep that clean sheet as well.
Yeah, he's been having a really good season. I think, was it 12 clean sheets and maybe that was before this match, so maybe he has 13 now. I could be totally wrong, but like I don't always get Dortmund stats right. So
13. You're right.
I can't get Dortmund stats right, but I can get Leipzig stats right. Damn it!
Because you're secretly a Leipzig fan. You were just projecting about the Bulls. That's actually your favorite part.
We do go down in the 18th minute with a Xavi Simons goal, and then starting the second half, Opinda scores in the 48th. As you mentioned, like our expected goals, a lot of it in the second half was 3.06. We had so many chances, but like you said, like we just couldn't get it close. Or if we did, Golaci was there, and we were just skying so many chances that should have been goals, should have been not necessarily tap-ins, but just put it away. And that was just I did like our second half performance. I understand some of that is more like they're up by 2. All they need to do is really kind of defend.
They had 25% possession in the second half, by the way, Leipzig. I mean, they did a lot of their attacks through counterattacks and, again, that left-hand side and trying to go after Anton there. But, yeah, 25% possession in that second half, and they allowed us to get back into this game, too. So, I mean, I thought Rosa was actually going to do us a solid for once and let us get 3 points on the road. And he definitely tried to help us. I don't know what else you could ask for at this point, but we were still unable to actually pull our own weight.
I was going to add, like, it's not the typical, I think, where you see a team just sitting back. Like, yes, like we had more possession, but we were creating so many good chances, which was the one positive I want to take away. Like, we finally kind of stepped it up, and we had so many opportunities. Like, we should have at least tied it up. We probably should have won with all the chances we were getting. I understand that could have like turned the tide a little bit. Maybe they started attacking more, pressing a little more, and they're able to, I don't know what would have happened, but we should have at least tied up that match. Like,
yeah, 7 shots on target, 20 in total. Like I mentioned, plenty of clear-cut chances, and should have done better with them.
We do have Sabitzer go out in this match. Injured now. I saw you just drop something in our Discord. Like, how long is he going to be out? And update there.
Yeah, so we're looking at, this is from Patrick Berger, actually, just a few hours ago. He said he's going to be out for several weeks due to a knee injury. BVB reports that the midfielder will complete a rehabilitation training over the next 4 weeks. So that means he's definitely out for the games against Bayern and Barcelona. Mecha, I forget when this was exactly, maybe a week or so ago, but he actually participated in a full training with everyone else. So the fact that we're actually going into a international break is not only good for the fitness of Mecha, but also just a good mentality reset for this team, because we are desperate for anything at this point. We are not only 11th in the table, but now under 500. We are only 10 points off from 4th place. I'm not sure how doable it is at this point. Even the players like Schlotterbeck are saying it's almost impossible, especially whenever you can't get the points done against teams that are above or even below you at this point. So it's pretty bleak.
I was going to ask about the midfield and what that looks like. As you mentioned, like we are going into international break, and the latest I saw on Mecha was late March is the last thing I saw. And of course, if he's already training and we have some extra time, then that could definitely help. I think that is it's definitely not helped that he's been out, because he had a really good start to the year. It was really unfortunate when he went down. And if he's not back by the time we're back playing matches, I don't know exactly what that midfield looks like. I mean, obviously you have Gross and maybe it's Ocean in there, but I don't love that.
I know but temporarily
hopefully,
switched to
if Mecha can get back, then that's like the one positive takeaway. I don't know if that's going to be enough to get us all the way up climbing the table. I don't know if Mecha is going to be the difference maker, especially after coming back from an injury. But yeah, hopefully good signs there.
Sorry, I was lagging a bit if I talked over you there, but I was saying, I know we switched to a back 3 in that Leipzig temporarily. I thought, Chan was going to push back up to that 6, because that is like pretty much his preferred position. But, he's been so pretty decent in that back line and so horrendous as that number 6. So maybe we're going to see more of that, a 3 where Chan can have a bit more time and space to think whenever he receives the ball and be in between Anton and Schlotterbeck or Anton and Sula, and have Gross, Mecha. I'm hoping it's not going to be Ozchan, because that's a lot of lateral passing, and we're already having trouble penetrating through lines at times and finding a good pass into the final third. Maybe Gross takes that number 10. Again, I'd like to see Chukwuemeka. But either way, hopefully, Mecha's back in these next 2 or 3 weeks, and you could see that midfield trio of Mecha, Chukwuemeka, Gross, and or Reina. And I think that's going to be a lot more effective than what we're seeing at the moment with Brandt at the 10.
As we don't have a match this weekend to preview or do any predictions, got a couple questions on Discord. Well, actually, since we talked about slightly table predictions and kind of the outlook on there, we'll start there. Shout out to Lisu, whose full name in our Discord is Lisu is hopeful for rebuild, so already looking ahead to next year. But I kind of asked, what are your predictions for where we finish on the table? Because I don't think we even get close to Europe just at the rate we're going. Lisu said, I think we end up around 9th at the highest spot, but more likely 10th or 11th. Z Foundy predicting mid-table 8th or 9th, which, I mean, where we are now, that's a little hopeful. We got to get some good results to finish.
It's only 3 points above where we're at now. I'm a bit surprised that more people are thinking that. I don't think we're going to finish top 4, but I do think we have the capabilities to finish above the likes of Wolfsburg, Gladbach, and even Freiburg, honestly, and getting a finish in 6, which is only 7 points away, especially whenever we play a handful of those oppositions that are above us. Freiburg and Mainz, both are our next 2 oppositions. We do play Gladbach again still. We do play Wolfsburg again still. And our last game of the season is at home against Kiel. I'd say that should be an easy 3 points, but we lost to Kiel earlier in the season. But we are at home this time, and I think that could be enough for us to get above the line here and finish in a Europa League spot. Not great, but, that's at least some extra revenue and another competition to look forward to. And I think it's a realistic and obtainable goal there.
Carver, the optimist, he's back.
Sure.
I did want to shout out to Alex Dawson, who said, best case scenario, 8th, worst case scenario, 12th. So he said, I'll just put it in the middle and say we finished 10th. But I mean, that is a good question. Like, if you're watching on YouTube or listening back on Spotify, maybe the better question is, do we make Europe, whether that's Europa League, Europa Conference League? Where do you see us playing next season? Is it just Bundesliga, or do we get into Europe somehow? I think Champions League is off, but the Europa League, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it'd be better if we had no other competitions to worry about. I don't like that. I like watching Dortmund twice a week. I mean, I say that until we lose every match. But so, yeah, let us know in the comments. Let us know on Spotify, wherever you're listening, or in our Discord if you haven't joined us there. Do we make Europe at any capacity next season?
So let us know what players you would keep and sell too. I'll probably throw a poll here in our Discord, but I am curious if you're listening on YouTube or Spotify or whatever, let us know if there are any players that you're looking to actually build with next year or offload here in just a few months.
Before we go, we have been talking a little more about the women lately. We always try to do an update every once in a while. We've been doing a few more, and why not? Because they're good. We should just, can we change the show to it's just the BVB Frauen podcast?
Sure. We got a channel for it now, and I mentioned that already. So it's a space to talk about them a bit more in depth here. And just at this weekend, they're back in the Verbandsliga, and they lost. Why did I just say they lost? See, because I'm in the mentality of the men's team. Yeah. That just comes out of my mouth.
The women's team doesn't lose, though.
Yeah, it's the complete opposite of that. They won a convincing 9-0 against Bielefeld, but it was Bielefeld's second team, who are 5th in the same division, the Verbandsliga. And actually, just a few weeks in the Verbands Pokal, they're going to play Bielefeld's first team on April 21st. So that's a cup game, but it'll actually be against the first team as opposed to the second one they beat 9-0 here in the Verbandsliga. They are still in first, still a few points above Schalke. I think Schalke play actually today, if I'm not wrong, because they didn't play yesterday. So we're still in the driver's seat to get promotion here. And the next game in the Verbandsliga here is on the 21st.
Yeah, and again, if you want to maybe learn a little more about the BVB women's team, head to our Discord. Also, we got a few resources in the description of this episode. International break coming up. Maybe we need it. As Dortmund fans, we need it at least.
No, maybe. Yeah, we need
Dortmund got men are but back in action, hosting Mainz at home on March 30th. Anything else, Carver?
Yeah, make sure, again, to leave us a review and throw in a comment of any thoughts that you had for the rebuild this season and yeah, it's where you think we'll finish. I'm curious to see people's thoughts.
Appreciate you guys hanging out, and we will be back later. See ya.